Hi everybody, it's Wednesday the 18th of November 2009 and I don't know what's wrong with me. I must need a good sleep or something. I don't know what's wrong. I keep losing my concentration and going off on the crazy things. I've tried to make this video a couple of times now. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, and it's only a couple of little points I want to make. Anyway, I'll try it again here and see what happens. The first part of it is just basically about a Quango that are meeting down in Dublin Castle today, the 18th of November. And they're called the Law Reform Commission. And what they're meeting about is they're meeting about the debt law system that we have in Ireland. Now, we've already discussed that in previous videos about, you know, how it's enacted in Ireland. And it's the outcome of it is either seizure of goods or quite often it's depriving somebody of their liberty, and you send them to the poker. You give them a jail sentence. This is what the courts in Ireland do. So it's hard to get your head around that you know, you as a citizen of a secular republic can be sent to jail for non-payment of a private debt. It's hard to believe. It is truly hard to believe. This was a system set up by the British, and it flowered in the 18th and 19th centuries. And I think there were three of them. I think in Ireland, I may be wrong. There might have been more. Maybe there were a lot more. I don't know. But I know of three of them, and they're called Marshalseas. And they were debtor prisons. And the one that was in Dublin was down at, in the area of Cable Street on the quays there. That's where it was. And that operated right up until that would have been right up until the British left here. And what happened was, when the British left here in 1922, we were supposed to have you know, we became a republic then, and supposedly a secular republic in the late, after the war, after the Second World War. And what happened was we were supposed to change the law system, because obviously their law system is based on a whole monarchist political system, and we have a secular republic where the authority of the state is imbued in the will of the people. That's what it's supposed to be. But anyway, we know different. But however, the bottom line about it is it's still virtually intact. Now, they set up one of the governments, I don't know whether or not it was a Fine Gael or a Fianna Fáil government, set up this Law Reform Commission. And you never hear from them. I've never heard from them. I don't know what to do. Where they sit, I don't know nothing about them. All I know is they exist, and I'm sure they draw down good salaries, and they're a Quango. That's what they are. Now, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, well, I know the reason. They've been, because it tells you in the article what the reason is. They are meeting today because the state has a problem, and the state's problem is as follows. And you have to read between the lines in the article, but essentially what it is, the state's problems are the Irish people in personal debt. This is the people of Ireland, not the banks, not the financial institutions, not the lending institution, not the credit institution, not the state. The people of Ireland owe 395 billion in personal debt. There's 4 million of us. We're going to make this simple. Let's round it up. Instead of being 385 billion, we say it's 400 billion. Okay? It's 4 million of us. That makes it approximately 100,000 euros for every man, woman and child on this island owes financial institutions. Here, we owe them 100,000 each, technically. I know some of us don't owe them anything, but it doesn't matter. Across the board, every man, woman and child owes 100,000 euros to these financial institutions. On top of that, our income to indebted ratio is 176%. In other words, we have an income every year of 100 monies, but we owe 176 monies. So the whole court system will come tumbling down, because it doesn't take any rocket science to work out, if almost 400 people were sent to jail last year, which there were, 400 Irish citizens were sent to jail for non-payment of private debt last year. Okay? What happens is, if you accelerate that up, which is going to obviously happen because this recession is going to get worse. It's going to get seriously bad in this country next year and the following year. Then the courts will become completely inundated, and the headline of the thing spells out the reality of why the Law Reform Commission is meeting. It tells you unravelling our costly Victorian debt law system. Alright? And that is the reality of the situation. That's the only reason why they want to unravel this, because it's costly. If it wasn't costly, if it didn't cost the state money to process these claims of indebtedness and then to put you in the jail and keep you in the jail, they wouldn't give a flying shit about your rights, constitutional or otherwise. People talk about the law system, the justice of the law system. Let me tell you what the senior counsels, when you meet these people, I know these people, alright? I know lots of them. Let me tell you about what they say when I have a few drinks about the law system and about justice and about satisfaction within the law system. They say the following: if you want satisfaction, go to a brothel. If you want law, come to the law library. End of story. That's what they say. In other words, they don't dispense justice in the courts in this country. They dispense law. And we know who that law represents. Alright? The final thing in this article I just want to say, and then I'll move on, is that this lady who's out of this Law Reform Commission, a lady called Patricia Rickard-Clark, who's one of the sponsors of this conference today, she says that it is not appropriate to jail people who cannot repay loans. It's not appropriate. What about the morality of the matter? What about the ethics of the matter? It's not appropriate. Most revealing. Anyway, next thing I want to talk about is we're on the law again, and this is from a man called Mr. Justice Richard Johnson, and he's an ex-president of the High Court. Now, he probably is on about, you'll hear me going on about this all the time, because to me this is an indicator of where these people are, who they are, what they represent, what hymn sheet they're singing off, and whose interests they vocalise. I'd say he gets a minimum of £3 a week of a pension. Minimum. I must look it up. I will look it up and see what High Court judges get when they retire. I'd say he gets definitely £3 a week, and he might have a political policeman driving him around the place, guarding him. I'd say there's every possibility of that. Anyway, that's another day's work. But he wants the death penalty reintroduced. He says, this is from an article, I put it down there again. It's an article from the Evening Herald the other night, 16th of November. He says that criminals who take out anyone who gets in their way should pay the price. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. So that gives you an insight into the mindset of that man. Just two things very, very quickly. Under European law, there'd be no going back. He obviously doesn't know that. Under European law, we're all part of Europe now. There'd be no going back. There's no retrenchment going back to death penalty or anything like it. Okay, that's number one, Mr. Richard Johnson. Second thing is, what happens when an innocent man gets sentenced? What about the square in that circle? What about the legitimacy of that? Alright? Innocent man loses his life through state violence and is topped by the state. What happens then? Who squares that circle? And that happens every day of the week. And the final thing I want to say is, Mr. Barack Obama is down in China. And I think it's most revealing. George Bush did something similar a few years back when he had to go down to Saudi Arabia and placate the Saudis. And this is what Mr. Barack Obama is doing. The mountain has gone to Muhammad. I never thought I'd see it, but the mountain has definitely gone to Muhammad. They are America's biggest creditors. They hold trillions and trillions of dollars of US government treasuries and bonds, etc. And he's down there asking them, please don't dump this, because you'll collapse the whole system. talk more later. Bye.